You know that moment when you tell yourself, okay, I'm actually serious this time, and something in you just goes quiet? Not excited, just, we'll see. And you don't question it, you just move on. But that moment, that's the part that matters. Because that's the moment you realize you don't fully believe yourself anymore. And it's subtle. It's not like you sit there thinking, I don't trust myself. It shows up as hesitation, as second guessing, as that tiny delay before you actually follow through. And that's why consistency feels so hard. Not because you don't know what to do, but because there's a gap between what you say and what you actually follow through on. That gap, that's your self-trust. And right now, it's inconsistent. There's something your brain does automatically. It watches what you do and uses that to decide who you are. Not what you say, not what you plan, what you actually do. So every time you act, you're sending yourself a signal. This is the kind of person I am, quietly, repeatedly. Think of it like receipts. Every action you take is something your brain keeps. And after a while, it stops asking who you want to be and just looks at what you've shown it. So when you say, I'm going to change, your brain doesn't listen to the words, it checks the receipts. And this is where it hits, because it's not just one area. You say you're going to stop overthinking, and then something small happens, and you spiral anyway. You say you're going to set better boundaries, and then someone crosses a line, and you stay quiet. You say you're going to focus, and then you're back on your phone without even thinking. You say you're done with a certain pattern, and then you go back to it, like nothing changed. And every time that happens, you're teaching yourself something. And it's not just about habits, it's about how you start to see yourself. Because when you keep breaking your own word, you don't just lose momentum, you lose self-respect quietly. And that's why it feels deeper than just being inconsistent. Because it is. There are two things running at the same time: your inner voice and your inner evidence. Your inner voice says, I'm going to change. I'm serious this time. But your inner evidence says, we've tried this before. And your brain always listens to the evidence, not the voice. So you end up in this loop where you keep speaking like the new version of you, but living like the old one. And that gap, that's where inconsistency lives. And this is where people stay stuck for years, because they keep trying to convince themselves instead of proving something different. You don't rebuild trust with intention, you rebuild it with evidence. And this is where most people overcomplicate it. They try to change everything and then follow through on nothing. So instead, you shrink it. You create moments where you say something and you follow through immediately. Not big things, small ones. You say you're going to leave something alone and you actually leave it. You say you're going to respond differently and you pause instead of reacting. You say you're going to focus for 10 minutes and you stay there. Because now you're stacking evidence and your brain starts updating. We actually follow through. And once that starts to happen, something shifts. You hesitate less. You negotiate less. You don't feel like you're forcing it as much. Not because you've changed overnight, but because you've seen yourself follow through. And that's when your consistency becomes easier. Because now, you're not trying to act like someone else. You're acting in line with someone you trust. So it's not that you can't be consistent. You just haven't shown yourself enough proof yet. Start building that, and everything changes.